You've seen Jurgen Klopp on the sidelines, right? The passion, the huge celebrations, the heavy metal football. But what if I told you the most important game he's ever played isn't actually on a football pitch? Well, today we're going to crack open his playbook, not just for winning matches, but for winning at leadership, at mentorship, and really, at life itself.
It all boils down to this one question. Think about it. In a world that is obsessed with individual superstars, how do you take a room full of brilliant, ambitious people, infuse them into something more, something so connected, so united that they'd literally walk through fire for each other and for a shared dream?
So, to find the answer, we have to look past the tactics and the formations. The real secrets are in a set of principles that anyone can use. So whether you're leading a company, a team, a family, or really just leading yourself, what we're about to go through is a genuine masterclass in human connection.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll go back to the beginning, with the boy and the warrior, to see what forged his character. Then, we'll dive into his incredible method for leading the individual. After that, we'll explore his surprising relationship with failure, what he calls the art of failure. Then we'll see how it all comes together in building a special culture. And finally, we'll unpack his most powerful lesson yet, knowing when to stop.
Okay, so to really understand the leader, you have to understand the person. And to do that, we've got to rewind, way back, before the roaring stadiums and all the trophies. There was just a boy, caught between two really powerful and kind of opposing forces that would end up shaping every decision he'd ever make.
Just look at this dynamic. On one side, you have his mother. She was the carer, and her love was just absolute, completely unconditional. He says she loved him more than her own life. But then, on the other side, you have his father, the competitor. He loved him, for sure, but he was always pushing, always demanding more, making him feel like it was never good enough. Can you just imagine being a kid pulled between those two worlds?
And what's so fascinating is how he talks about it now. He doesn't see it as a conflict. He sees those two extremes as the essential ingredients that created his unique blend of leadership. And that's the real insight here. He found a way to synthesize them. He has this deep, empathetic care for people, but at the same time, this relentless, almost unstoppable drive for excellence. He literally lives right in the balance between the two.
And this balance wasn't some, abstract idea he read in a book. It was forged in the real world, under immense pressure. Look at his life in his early 20s. He's not just some kid chasing a football dream. At 21, he's a father. He's working 2 other jobs on the side just to make ends meet. That kind of pressure, that weight of responsibility. He says, that's what made me the guy I am today. This is where the leader was born.
So you have this young man shaped by this intense mix of love and ambition. How does that turn into the leader we see today? Well, this is where we get into his core philosophy, and it's a truly people-first approach that's, it's less about management and a lot more about unlocking what people are capable of.
He basically throws out this question that completely flips conventional wisdom on its head. We're all taught that being fair means being consistent. You treat everyone exactly the same. But Klopp says, no way. He thinks that's not just wrong, it's actually lazy. True leadership for him isn't about giving everyone the same thing. It's about being curious enough to figure out what each person uniquely needs to be their best.
So how does he actually do this? Well, it's not some complicated formula. It's all about a conversation that comes from a place of real curiosity. It starts with just asking people their story. He wants to know where you're from, what your world is like, because he has this belief that you can't really help someone if you don't meet them where they actually are.
And this right here, this quote, is everything. It's the key to how he communicates. Now, this isn't about just telling people what they want to hear. Not at all. It's about understanding someone's inner world so deeply that you know the precise thing they need to hear in that moment to grow, to believe in themselves again. For him, leadership is fundamentally an act of service, not an act of ego. And when it comes to confidence, he has this beautiful way of describing it. He calls it a little flower. And he says that all the time, constantly. Somebody is stepping on it. A bad result, a harsh criticism, a mistake, those are all footsteps. And he sees his job as a leader not to command, but to create a kind of greenhouse, a safe space where that little flower has the protection it needs to grow back stronger.
Okay, so if you're protecting confidence like a fragile flower, what does that mean when people fail?
Well, that leads us right into the next part of his playbook, his relationship with failure itself. In a world that is completely obsessed with winning all the time, Klopp has mastered the art of losing, and, more importantly, using it as fuel.
Let me tell you, early in his career as a manager, he went through some absolutely soul-crushing moments. Imagine fighting all year to get your team promoted, and you miss it by a single point. Then, the very next year, you do it all over again, and you miss it by a single goal. I mean, that kind of heartbreak would just destroy most people. But for Klopp, these weren't dead ends. They were brutal but necessary lessons in how to get back up.
So this is how he looks at it. Failure isn't a dead end. It's not a judgment on who you are. It's just data. He says that if you don't learn from a defeat, then yeah, it's just a defeat. But if you learn from it, it becomes a very, very important information. It's just intelligence that you can use to get better for the next time.
And this right here, this quote, this gets to the very core of who he is. His identity isn't tied to the result, it's tied to the effort. He's not defined by trophies, he's defined by the fact that he just keeps on trying. And that mindset, it frees him and it frees his teams from being paralyzed by the fear of failing. It lets them just focus on giving it their all. Okay, so let's put the pieces together. You've got this leader who cares deeply about people as individuals, who isn't afraid of failure, and who just keeps trying no matter what. So what does that create? Well, it creates the foundation for what he calls a special culture, an environment where the group becomes way more powerful than just the sum of its parts.
And you might think building this kind of elite culture is all about complex strategies and big motivational speeches, but for Klopp, it all boils down to one simple, non-negotiable rule. It applies to everyone, from the biggest star player to the person cleaning the cafeteria. And that rule is respect everyone. Period.
And there's a really powerful logic behind this rule. He believes that how you treat the people who can't seemingly do anything for you, the security guard, the kitchen staff, that's the truest test of your character. It shows exactly how you're going to treat your teammates when the pressure is really on. For him, respect isn't something you can just turn on and off. It's a habit you have to practice every single day with every single person.
Once you have that bedrock of respect, everything else can start to grow. He works to create this internal world, this sanctuary, where the team's shared goals matter more than all the noise from the outside. And in that bubble, everyone is expected to give their absolute all. And when they do that, together, they build that incredible bond that makes them willing to walk through fire for each other.
But even the most special cultures, the most energetic leaders, they have a shelf life. And that brings us to the final lesson in his playbook. And it's maybe the most profound and timely one of all. It's about the one thing so many great leaders get wrong: knowing when it's time to stop.
Now, when he announced he was leaving Liverpool, it just stunned everyone. But when you look at it through the lens of everything we've just talked about, it starts to make perfect sense. See, it wasn't an act of quitting. It was the ultimate act of responsible leadership. He understood that to lead at that level, you have to be the main battery pack for the entire organization. And he had the self-awareness to realize his own battery was running low. I mean, listen to his own words. That is some serious self-awareness. He knew he couldn't be the energy giver, as he puts it, that the team deserved anymore. And so by stepping away, he put the health of the culture he built above his own ego, above his own job. It's just such a powerful lesson for our modern world about burnout and having the quiet courage to listen to your own limits.
So as we wrap this up, his story really leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? Klopp's entire philosophy is about pouring your whole self into what really matters. So take a look at your own life, your work, your relationships, your passion projects, and ask yourself, what is the one journey that truly deserves all of your energy right now? Hey, if any of these ideas hit home for you, we'd be so grateful if you'd help get them out there. Liking this explainer and subscribing really helps more people find it. And sharing it with your family and friends, you never know, it might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. Thanks so much for joining us.